Okay, real talk time. I know we all love mass leaderless movements and autonomous groups that all self-organize, but have you ever wondered if this is actually an effective way to make systemic change? Because in the past 20 years, we've had a historic amount of mass leaderless movements and not a historic amount of actual systemic change for the better. These ideas of autonomy and horizontalism are great, but we also have to be honest about their limitations. Jo Freeman, who was a feminist organizer, wrote about some of these limitations when she was reflecting on her own experience organizing within radical feminist spaces in the 1960s. The 60s is when we saw the birth of the New Left within the anti-war civil rights and feminist student movements. And they were some of the first to experiment with these ideas of more horizontal organizing. The core idea being that having less structure and fewer leaders would create more equitable and democratic groups. And it was a direct reaction to more rigid hierarchies of traditional labor organizing in the 18 and 1900s. And at the time, the looseness and informality was great. It encouraged more discussion, participation, but there were problems too. In her essay, Jo Freeman explains that there's no such thing as a structureless group, just formal and informal structures. And not having structure doesn't mean you don't have leaders, you just have informal, unelected, and unaccountable leaders. And that might work for relatively small groups who are tackling specific problems, but it crumbles when trying to scale up to tackle larger problems. And she points out some real weaknesses that we see over and over again. Movements being co-opted, the media spreading false narratives, unelected spokespeople that speak for the movement, demands becoming less strategic, ideological splits, the list goes on. These are all things that she pointed out back then and that we're still dealing with in our movements today. Freeman argues that in reality, the way to create more equitable and democratic groups is actually through more explicit and intentional structure, not less. And at the end of her essay, she lays out 7 principles for more democratic organizing, including delegation, equal access to resources, and the rotation of leadership. If you want to learn more, we just released a study guide for this essay over at theconsciouscitizens.org, where we summarize the key points of each section of the essay to make it easier to read. You can get access to it for free along with a growing directory of helpful resources by signing up at the link in our bio. And if you want, you can help us keep all of this free by supporting our work for as little as $2 a month.